Hey guys, welcome to Precision Machine Shed. Today what I have is this little guy right here. This is a model 101 period 21200 Craftsman 6x18 inch metal lathe. So I'm going to go over this guy a little bit today. Let's take a look at this thing, check it out. Alright, here we go. So this little 6x18 Craftsman here is kind of the latest version. I think this is the last one that they actually built before they quit making them. It's got the squared off headstock. It's a 200 model. It's on this nice heavy bench that somebody built. It's about an 1.25 top, made out of 4x4s. It's got some drawers in it, you know, store your stuff. So let's take a little closer look at this guy. Alright, so here's a little bit of the tooling that came with it. It's kind of some standard stuff, some drive dogs, some wrenches, both sets of jaws for the 3-jaw. It's only got a 3-jaw chuck, but it's nice. A nice US made Craftsman, albeit. Screw pitch gauge, 51 pitches, 4 to 48. That's pretty nice. I don't even know if that's been used. Little tape measure, little thing, and cutting tools, and all these little tools hardly even look like they've been used. That one looks brand new. Kind of cool. Alright, so here's kind of a hodgepodge of all sorts of good stuff. It's got a faceplate, instructions for the steady rest. There's a steady rest, bunch of random Jacobs and Craftsman chucks. Alright, so this was a popular little lathe back in the day. A lot of guys bought these things for hobby use and homework and doing little model stuff and things like that. And they're still actually pretty good little lathes. There's only a few things you gotta watch out for. I did a video on my 618 Atlas, that red one I did several months ago, and they're pretty much the same thing. The old style have, well, actually the really early ones have rounded tops. The little later ones are not quite so round, but they're still round, and then they went to this guy. And Atlas, Craftsman, same thing. They just, you know, rebadged them. And we're going to go over a few of the similarities and the differences between the 618 and this one. Pretty much from the headstock over, it's all the same. I believe it's the same bed. The feet on the bed may have changed a little bit. Actually, they did. I got another bed over there I can show you in a second. The tailstock, I believe, is the same. This whole assembly looks all the same. So these parts should be interchangeable if you have one. This guy has threading dial and the half nut, which work good in the lockdown for the cross slide or the carriage. And I have cut a little bit with this guy. I still got my exterior jaws on here, but I haven't switched them. But it's actually cutting really nice. We'll show that in a second here. It's got the quick change, not quick change, but reversing lever for the lead screw. And this one's actually in pretty good shape. A lot of these things, people got them, and they, you know, a lot of younger guys and kids and stuff got these, and they kind of beat the crap out of them as far as, you know, they got a lot of use. So the things you got to watch for on these guys, again, with all Craftsman lathes with these flat top ways, is instead of like a South Bend or Logan or just about any other lathe in the world, other than, you know, big lathes, big metal lathes, most of them clamp down top to bottom on the ways, whereas these guys, they clamp in sideways. So when you get wear, you're going to get wear in here and not so much up here. And then the opposite with the tailstock, there's a gib inside there that pushes out on the inside of the bedways, and you know, it's possible to get some wear up in here too. This one had a steady rest. I don't know how much that got used. We can look at the jaws here in a second, but you know, most of this stuff is being done up here, so this is kind of where you're going to check it out. And an easy way to test these things is, you know, we're pretty solid here with our gib screws. This thing doesn't rock. It slides pretty easy. Once you get down here, if it starts to get really hard to turn, then you know you got some wear up in here. Or if you're, you know, screwing fine out here and it's nice and smooth, and then you come back here and it wobbles and it's not very tight, then you know you got wear there again too. The best way to fix that would be to have it taken to somebody that rebuilds these things. However, these things are small enough, if you have a big enough like a surface plate. You'd have to have about a 2-foot surface plate. You could potentially you could scrape these in, or if you have a Bridgeport, you could even set this up, indicate it very carefully on the very ends of the beds, and you could lightly mill these edges off. And you know, if you can only take a thousandths or two on each side, you might be able to tighten those guys up. All right, so just to show a quick comparison, I'm gonna see if I can get this in the photo here. Here is an old Atlas 618, and I'm actually going to set this right here very carefully. Alright, and don't give me crap because I just set it on there easily. So this is an old Atlas 618. It might be a Craftsman, I'm not sure. There's a tag on the back of there, but the model on these old ones is 101.21200. It says Sears Roebuck on it, so as you can see, some of the main differences with this guy, they changed these bed feet. They're quite a bit larger on the old ones, whereas the new ones here, they're quite a bit smaller. I don't know if they're more stout, but you'd think a wider base would be better. I don't know. Bedways are the same, everything else on the same. So the bed is basically the exact same thing as this one. It's just different feet and different headstock. So here's the headstock of the old one. I don't have the cover, but it, you know, it's kind of rounded off. And this is an older one. The older ones had screws in the tops here, and I think the little bit newer ones got rid of these. Don't quote me on that, I can't remember, it's been a while. And so anyways, rounded off, and that's just a few of the little differences from the new to the old ones. Here is the gear side, and these covers, this is one of the differences between the new and the old. So this cover just pops right off, pretty simple threading chart down there. And so here's where a lot of the main differences on the new versus the old. There's a few things that I like about this newer style versus the older one. However, there's a few things that I think are kind of could be improved on. One of the nice things is that they move the step pulley assembly out to the end of the spindle, which cuts down, because the old ones, like the 618s, had a big motor bracket assembly that sat behind the headstock, and that took up a lot of room. So this kind of compacted everything and got everything down to a nice size. And then they put these idler pulleys on. So if you want to switch belts, it's pretty simple. Oop. So let's go out to this one. Usually they don't pop off, or usually it hasn't been popping off like that, but alright, there we go. So it's pretty easy to switch. I mean, it's not difficult to switch belts, and this pulley just slides for each position that you put it in. The one goofy thing about these newer style lathes is the ball pin engagement. So on the like the old 618s, there's actually a little bowl pin on the inside of this cone pulley in the spindle, and you have to actually reach in there and pull it out or push it in. You know, pop it in, pop it out, like most standard US made lathes, you know. This thing, they changed it up a little bit. This guy right here is your bowl pin, and it's kind of tricky. So right now it's engaged, so it's in direct drive. So if we want to go in a back gear, this thing needs to be, and it might need to be oiled and greased up a little bit, but you gotta pull that thing out. Now we're disengaged. So if we turn it on, a little noisy, and it gets a little rattle in there, which is kind of annoying. So then we can show this in a second. We can engage the back gear. Here's the back gear on the back of the headstock. Just flip that up. Alright, now we're in back gear. Now we can flip it on. And it's a little noisy. This gear makes a little bit of noise, and I don't know if this makes a little bit of noise, but here's the tricky part. So I disengage the back gear. You can see that right there. That's engaging, disengaging. So now the tricky part, I want to go back into direct drive. So the tricky part is finding the damn spot to get it in. And you should really have, I don't think this one's ever been marked, but you can mark, put a little dimple or a mark or you know, paint mark on there so you can line this thing back up so you can get it kind of, because it only goes back in one spot. And you can see I'm having a, there we go. So there, it clicked back in, so now we're back in direct drive. So it's kind of a, I mean, it's a clever idea, but it's, you know, maybe this one needs to be greased up a little bit, but it's, I don't know. It is a lot easier than the old ones, that's for sure, because you need a pliers or a screwdriver or something to get the old ones, but you can do this by hand, so pros and cons, but it's an okay little setup for what it is. There are the spindle speeds and direct drive right now. I'm gonna start cutting some metal here, and I believe I'm in 1450 right now, so I'm gonna cut a little steel here and check her out. Alright, let's give this guy a shot. So like I said, I was running about 1450, and I think my bit is, I honed it the other day, but we'll see. I don't know if it got moved here or not, but we'll see if we can get it to cut decently. And I'm going to use the lead screw just to turn it so it gets a nice constant feed rate. So we'll give it a shot here. These jaws, I just nicked the my dust cover there, so I'm usually pretty good about not doing that, but let's take a look. I mean, it looks pretty smooth. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's look a little closer. Alright, so there we are. Pretty smooth. I could have either sped my lathe up just a tiny little bit or slowed my feed down, and it would have been a little bit smoother, but that was a pretty good cut. And that was only probably a 5, maybe not even a 10,000ths cut there. So it's not much of a cut. And I don't know, we can crank this guy in. Let's see how big of a cut we can take with it. Alright, so I believe I got it set up for about a 20,000ths depth of cut. So we'll see what it does here. That did not too bad. Like the surface finish again, not the greatest, but it's okay. Let's do one more. Let's go 30,000. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Let's see what happens here. Might be interesting. Alright, I think that was about it. We got 30,000. That's not bad for a little lathe like this guy. You usually won't be taking cuts like that, but look at that. Got some nice blue chips out of the deal. That's okay. So there we go. And still left a pretty decent little surface finish. And not the greatest, but I can improve on that. So yeah, there we go. Alright, so there we go. There's that little Craftsman 6-inch lathe. And funny story, I actually was making this video and somebody called me up and came and bought it right as I was doing the very last clip. So the lathe is gone, so I don't have it anymore, but it was fun while I had it. So good news, I got my heavy 10 back up and running, and my 13-inch is off to the races to get spiffed up a little bit. So if you like that video, please be sure to like below, give me a thumbs up, comment, let me know anything you're thinking of or any thoughts, questions, comments, whatever, and share with your buddies. And if you would also like to help me make great videos like this, check out my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can help me out, and it sure goes a long way for making great videos like this. So till next time, be sure to stay safe on your machines and shoot safe. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.